Hey, welcome back to another vlog, and today we're continuing on with our plant herb series, and we're going to talk about passion flower today. And this is often a vine, we would call it. Grows quite well usually in full sun to partial shade. It can be found in a number of areas around the world. However, most of the time people would say it's predominantly in places like the Americas, although you can obviously find it in many other lands as well. Now, when the colonizers gave this plant a name, they called it passion flower, and they were associating it with actually the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. And I'm sure there's probably more you could read about that through different literature and maybe content online, and I'll leave that up to you. Also want to remind you, I'm not a medical practitioner. If you are breastfeeding, you're pregnant, you're on medication, you want to extra err on the side of caution when introducing new plants, new foods into your diet, into your body. I am going to share some things that this plant may assist with. I am not claiming that it's going to cure X, Y, and Z. Now, my favorite form to have this plant is through a dry herb tea. So it's been dried, it's loose leaf. I will boil water, then I'll put the tea in a cup, and then I'll put the water on there. I don't boil the herb into it unless it's a root. If it's a root, then I may boil it in the liquid. But if it's not a root, if it's more of a leafy matter, then I'll find that if we're boiling it, it may actually destroy some of the properties. So for it to sit in hot water and steep is great, but to boil it, I probably wouldn't do that. You can also probably find it in a tincture form. You may be able to get it fresh. There may be ways you can even incorporate it into food that you might be eating as well. And let's get into some of the things that this plant can help with. Now, one of them I found really interesting is that there's some research that suggests it may assist with those that have ADHD and helping them mitigate some of their ADHD effects that they may have challenges with, which is pretty astounding. Be good to see some more research done on that, of course. I've also seen that it can help with menopausal effects, can help with lowering blood pressure, and also reduce insulin levels. So again, if you're on medications, whether it's a heart condition or diabetes, you probably want to check in with a naturopath and then maybe even also a medical practitioner about whether it's safe to be having this with your medication or altering your medication to then incorporate more of the plant. Leave that up to you. It can help with reducing anxiety, improving sleep, and also reducing inflammation. So these are pretty good things that this herb could assist us with. And I'm sure nearly all of us could find at least one of those things in that list that that we may sometimes be struggling with ourselves in this sort of modernity society that some of us may find ourselves in. Now, what I found quite interesting when learning about this herb is some of the stories that many cultures around the world had with this herb, and I'm going to share a few of them now. And one of them is the Cherokee peoples of Native America. They would name this plant either a wild cucumber in their language, or they would call it the vine with the flowers like star, which I find is very sweet. And they would often go into ceremony with this plant to honor what they would call the creator, and also work with different deities that they felt was necessary at each moment of their communal living. And I learned also about a group in West Africa that they often associate the passion flower with a particular deity, and that deity often embodies or represents, shall I say, for them, elements of love, fertility, and abundance. And then also I've seen in some ancient Japanese and ancient Chinese cultures where the passion flower was often seen as a symbol of longevity, health, and vitality. And it's really interesting how, these are cultures that are reasonably geographically of a distance away from each other, but they've all found a real beauty in using the flower, whether it be for them to ingest for health or for other properties that they're wishing to bring into their communities. And to me, I can see some similarities in some of those stories, and then also what science is suggesting as well. It's there's some synchronicity, or you could say coincidence, in that there's a similar associations that different peoples have with almost the same plant. Obviously, there's going to be some variations. There's one that's been growing in West Africa for hundreds, if not thousands, of years. It's going to sort of maybe start to change slightly than the one that may have been growing in, say, North America, compared to maybe one that's been growing in China. So this is where you get slight variations of the very much the same plant. Yes, I always find that quite interesting. If you've got any questions about this plant, you're welcome to leave a comment. If you've got any herbology vlog requests, leave that in the comment section below, and we'll see you again soon.